What if everything you've been told about fear is wrong? What if fear isn't your enemy but your most powerful teacher? The Shaolin monks knew this secret, and today, you learn how to use it. Fear controls most people. It stops them from taking risks, speaking up, even chasing their dreams. But there's another way. For centuries, Shaolin masters have trained their minds to see fear differently. Not as a weakness, but as a tool. And today, you learn their exact methods. Fear is just a signal, not a command. Fear is one of the most misunderstood experiences in human life. Most people treat it as an absolute command, a red light flashing in their minds, telling them to stop, retreat, or avoid whatever is causing the discomfort. But this interpretation is flawed. Fear is not a directive. It is a signal, a messenger delivering information about your inner landscape. Imagine driving a car and seeing a warning light on the dashboard. The light doesn't mean you should abandon the vehicle. It means something requires your attention. Fear operates the same way. It doesn't say turn back. It says look deeper. When fear arises, the natural reaction is resistance. People tense up, their breath shortens, and their thoughts spiral into worst-case scenarios. They believe fear is a sign of weakness, an indication that they are not ready, not strong enough, or not capable. But this is a fundamental misreading of the emotion. Fear is not your enemy. It is a guide, a teacher pointing toward areas in your life that need focus, practice, or understanding. If you fear public speaking, it's not because you are doomed to fail. It's because communication matters to you, and you recognize the importance of doing it well. If you fear failure, it's not because you are destined to lose. It's because you care deeply about the outcome. Fear highlights what is meaningful, and in doing so, it reveals where growth is possible. The key is to shift from avoidance to inquiry. Instead of running from fear, pause and ask, what is this trying to show me? This simple question transforms fear from an obstacle into a tool. When you approach fear with curiosity, it loses its power to paralyze. You begin to see it as feedback rather than a verdict. A musician afraid of performing isn't being told to quit. They're being reminded to prepare more thoroughly. A leader afraid of making a tough decision isn't being told to step down. They're being shown how much responsibility they hold. Fear clarifies priorities. Many believe courage is the absence of fear, but true courage is moving forward with fear. It is the willingness to listen to the signal without letting it dictate your actions. Think of a martial artist stepping onto the mat for a sparring match. Their heart races, their palms sweat. This is fear signaling heightened awareness. If they misinterpreted it as a command to flee, they would never step forward. But because they understand it as a call to focus, they use it to sharpen their reflexes, to stay present, to engage fully. Fear becomes fuel rather than a barrier. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, a deliberate rewiring of instinct. Every time fear arises, instead of contracting, expand, breathe into it, observe it, ask what lesson it carries. Over time, fear ceases to be a stop sign and becomes a signpost, a marker on the path of growth. The greatest warriors, artists, and thinkers throughout history didn't lack fear. They simply refused to let it have the final say. They knew that fear is just a signal, not a command.
The body controls the mind more than you think. Most people believe that the mind is in charge, that thoughts dictate actions, and that overcoming fear is a matter of sheer willpower. They try to reason their way out of anxiety, repeating affirmations, analyzing their worries, or attempting to logic themselves into calmness. But this approach often fails because it ignores a fundamental truth. The body controls the mind far more than we realize. Fear isn't just a mental experience. It is a full body reaction. Your muscles tighten, your breath quickens, your palms sweat. These physical responses aren't just side effects of fear. They reinforce it. To master fear, you must start with the body. Consider how fear manifests physically. Your shoulders hunch, your chest tightens, your movements become stiff. These postures send signals back to the brain, amplifying the sense of danger. It's a feedback loop. Fear creates tension, and tension deepens fear. Breaking the cycle requires interrupting the physical response. You don't wait for your mind to calm down. You calm your body first, and the mind follows. The simplest and most powerful tool is breath. Under stress, breathing becomes shallow and rapid, reinforcing the fight or flight response. By deliberately slowing the breath, long inhales, longer exhales, you send a message to the nervous system that there is no immediate threat. The heart rate slows, the muscles relax, and the mind begins to settle. This isn't just theory, it's physiology. The body cannot sustain panic when the breath is controlled. Posture is equally important. Fear makes people small. They curl inward, as if bracing for impact. But confidence is embodied. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open. This isn't about faking bravery. It's about using the body to shift the mind state. Research shows that expansive postures reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, and increase testosterone associated with assertiveness. Your body language doesn't just reflect your emotions, it shapes them. Relaxation is another key. Fear thrives in tension, so the antidote is deliberate release. Scan the body for tightness, jaw, fists, stomach, and consciously soften those areas. This isn't passive, it's an active letting go, a refusal to let fear hijack your physical state. A relaxed body doesn't feed fear the way a tense one does. This principle is central to martial arts training. Before a fight, a practitioner doesn't just mentally prepare. They ground themselves physically, feet steady, breath deep, muscles loose but ready. The mind may race, but the body remains anchored. Over time, this physical discipline rewires the mental response. The body learns calmness, and the mind follows suit. The implications extend far beyond combat. Public speakers, athletes, surgeons, anyone who performs under pressure, know that controlling the body is the fastest way to control the mind. When nervous, don't just tell yourself to calm down. Breathe, stand with intention, release tension. The mind will catch up. This isn't to dismiss the power of thought, but to recognize that the body is the quickest pathway to influence it. Fear is as much a physical phenomenon as a mental one. Master the body, and you master the fear. The stone mind technique. There is a river, and in that river, there is a stone. The water rushes past it, sometimes gentle, sometimes violent, but the stone does not move. It does not resist the current, nor does it try to control it. It simply exists, solid and undisturbed, while the water flows around it. This is the essence of the stone mind technique, the ability to remain unmoved by the passing turbulence of thoughts and emotions, especially fear. Most people, when fear arises, react as if they are the water tossed and turned by every wave of anxiety. But the practice is to become the stone steady, grounded, allowing fear to come and go without being swept away by it. Fear is not the problem. The problem is our relationship with fear. When it appears, we tighten, we fight it, we judge ourselves for feeling it. We get lost in stories about what it means. If I'm afraid, I must not be ready. If I'm afraid, something must be wrong. But fear is just energy, a sensation in the body, a series of thoughts flickering through the mind. It has no power except what we give it. The moment we try to push it away, we magnify it. Resistance is what sustains fear. The stone mind technique teaches the opposite approach, non-resistance. Let fear be, observe it, without becoming it. This is not passive, it is profoundly active. It takes great awareness to step back and witness fear without getting pulled into its narrative. Imagine you are a scientist studying a phenomenon. You notice your heart racing, your palms sweating, your thoughts spiraling. Instead of reacting, you simply note, interesting, this is how my body responds to fear. There is no judgment, no urgency to fix it. You are not trying to stop the fear. You are allowing it to exist while refusing to let it dictate your actions. This shift in perspective changes everything. Fear loses its grip when it is no longer fed with attention and resistance. The practice begins with stillness. Sit or stand in a relaxed but alert posture. Breathe naturally. When fear arises, whether it's before a performance, a difficult conversation, or any moment of uncertainty, do not engage with the thoughts. Do not argue with them or try to reason them away. Simply notice, fear is here, like clouds passing across the sky. Thoughts and emotions come and go. The sky does not cling to the clouds. It does not try to hold them or push them away. It remains vast and untouched. Your mind is the same. Beneath the turbulence of fear, there is stillness. The stone mind technique is not about suppressing fear, but about discovering that stillness within yourself. Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with fear. You begin to see it as temporary, impersonal, a passing weather pattern in the mind, not a reflection of reality. A martial artist stepping into the ring does not wait for fear to disappear before acting. They feel it, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. The fear may still be present, but it no longer controls them. This is the power of the stone mind. You do not have to eliminate fear to be courageous. You only have to stop letting it decide for you. The deeper lesson here is trust. Trust in your own stability. The stone does not worry about the river. It does not wonder if it will be carried away. It knows its own nature, unshakable. You too have that unshakable core. Fear is just an experience moving through you. It does not define you. The more you practice observing fear without reacting, the more you realize that you are not the fear, you are the awareness behind it. And that awareness, like the stone in the river, cannot be moved. Fear grows in the dark. Shine a light on it. Fear thrives in darkness. It grows in the unseen corners of the mind, fed by uncertainty, imagination, and avoidance. The less you examine it, the bigger it becomes, like a shadow on the wall. Fear distorts and exaggerates, turning small threats into monsters, manageable risks into catastrophes. The antidote is simple but counterintuitive. You must bring fear into the light. You must look at it directly, clearly, without flinching, because once you do, something strange happens. Fear shrinks, it loses its power. What seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. What seemed like a monster is often just a mouse. This is why, in discipline training, students are forced to confront their fears head-on, not to torment them, but to liberate them. Avoidance is the enemy. The more you run from fear, the more energy it gains. The more you face it, the more you realize it was never as powerful as it seemed. The first step is to articulate the fear, to drag it out of the murky realm of what if and into the clear light of language. Write it down, say it out loud. I am scared of. This simple act strips fear of its vagueness, its ability to masquerade as something larger than it is. Next, ask the two most important questions. What is the worst that could happen, and could I survive it? Most fears collapse under this scrutiny. Fear of public speaking. The worst that could happen is you stumble over your words. People judge you and you feel embarrassed. Could you survive it? Yes. Fear of failure. The worst that could happen is you fall short, learn something, and try again. Could you survive it? Yes. Fear of rejection. The worst that could happen is someone says no and you move on to the next opportunity. Could you survive it? Yes. Very few fears hold up when examined in plain daylight. This is not about dismissing fear, but about putting it in perspective. Fear is often a distorted projection of the mind, a trick of the imagination that makes the future seem more dangerous than it is. By shining a light on it, you separate the real from the imagined. You see that most fears are not life or death. They are discomfort, uncertainty, or ego, and those things can be faced. They can be endured. In fact, they must be if you want to grow. There is a reason why the most demanding training pushes people to their edges. It is not to break them, but to show them that their edges are farther than they thought, that they are capable of more than they believed. Every time you face a fear and come out the other side, you gain evidence against future fears. You build a track record of resilience. I was afraid, and I did it anyway. I survived. I grew stronger. This is how confidence is built, not by the absence of fear, but by the repeated experience of moving through it. The final step is action. Fear cannot be fully dissolved by thinking alone. You must do the thing you fear in small steps at first, then larger ones. Each time you act in spite of fear, you dilute its power. You prove to yourself that fear is not a stop sign, but a challenge to be met. And the more you meet it, the quieter it becomes. This is the ultimate secret. Fear grows in the dark, but it cannot survive the light. Shine a light on it. Look at it. Name it. Question it. Act despite it. And watch as what once seemed insurmountable becomes nothing more than another step on the path. Train like a monk. Small doses of discomfort. The path to fearlessness is not found in avoiding discomfort, but in seeking it, deliberately, methodically, like a monk in training. The greatest warriors and most disciplined minds do not wait for fear to find them. They go out and meet it head-on, in controlled doses, day after day. This is how courage is built, not in a single heroic moment, but in the accumulation of small, intentional acts of discomfort. A monk does not wake up one day unshakable. He becomes unshakable by willingly facing what others avoid: cold mornings, aching muscles, the sting of failure, the burn of holding a stance long past the point of comfort. These are not punishments, they are exercises. The body must be strained to grow stronger. The mind must be challenged to grow calmer. Fear must be faced to grow smaller. You do not need a temple to train this way. The world is your training ground. Start small. Strike up a conversation with a stranger. Order a dish you've never tried. Take the cold shower instead of the warm one. These are not grand acts of bravery, but they are the foundation of it. Each time you choose discomfort over ease, you send a message to your nervous system: I can handle this. I am not ruled by my impulses. Over time, these small victories accumulate into something far greater, a mind that no longer shrinks from challenge, but meets it with steady breath and open eyes. Discomfort is the gym for your courage. Just as muscles grow under tension, your ability to face fear expands when you willingly step into the unknown. The key is progression. A monk does not begin by holding a stance for an hour. He starts with a minute, then 2, then 5. The same applies to fear. If public speaking terrifies you, start by speaking up in small groups. If rejection scares you, practice asking for minor favors. Each exposure weakens fear's grip. The more familiar discomfort becomes, the less power it has over you. This is not about seeking pain for its own sake. It is about recognizing that growth lives on the other side of comfort. The mind, left to its own devices, will always choose the path of least resistance, but that path leads to stagnation. The monk knows this, so he trains not only his body but his will. He learns to observe discomfort without reacting, to sit with it, to breathe through it. In doing so, he discovers something profound. Discomfort is temporary. Fear is temporary. The body adjusts. The mind adapts. What felt impossible yesterday becomes routine today. The modern world conspires against this kind of training. Comfort is everywhere, endless entertainment, temperature-controlled rooms, food at the tap of a screen. But comfort is a trap if it becomes the only thing you know. Without challenge, the mind grows soft. Without resistance, the spirit grows weak. The antidote is simple. Seek out small hardships. Let yourself be bored instead of reaching for your phone. Walk instead of drive. Sit with an emotion instead of numbing it. These are the drills of the modern monk. The beauty of this approach is its accessibility. You do not need to abandon your life to train like a monk. You only need to shift your relationship with discomfort. See it not as something to avoid, but as something to cultivate. Each small act of courage, each time you choose the harder path, is a rip in the gym of your mind. And just like physical training, the effects compound. What begins as a whisper of confidence grows into a voice, then a roar. You realize, slowly but surely, that you are no longer the person who runs from fear. You are the person who walks toward it, greets it by name, and moves through it. Not because you are unafraid, but because you have trained yourself to act despite the fear. And that is the heart of true courage. The no escape rule. Once a monk begins a training session, he does not stop. No matter how much his muscles burn, no matter how fiercely his mind begs for relief. This is not cruelty, it is wisdom. The moment you allow yourself to quit, you teach your brain that the solution to discomfort is escape. And that lesson carries far beyond the training hall. It seeps into your life. You start quitting jobs when they get hard, relationships when they get messy, dreams when they seem distant. The no escape rule exists to break this pattern. It is a vow. Once I start, I finish. Not because success is guaranteed, but because the act of seeing something through, regardless of the outcome, rewires your relationship with fear. Fear thrives on the illusion of escape. It whispers that if you just avoid the speech, the confrontation, the risk, you will be safe. But this is a lie. Avoidance does not eliminate fear, it enlarges it. Every time you run, you reinforce the belief that the thing you fear is more powerful than you are. The no escape rule flips the script. It says, you will stay, you will face it, you will discover that you are stronger than the fear. This is not about blindly enduring suffering, it is about commitment. If you sign up for a marathon, you do not quit at mile 10 because your legs hurt. If you agree to give a speech, you do not back out because your hands shake. You adjust, you slow down if you must, you pause and breathe, but you do not turn back. The monk does not leave the stance when his muscles tremble. He finds a way to stay, adjusting his posture, softening his breath, but remaining. This is how resilience is built, not by avoiding struggle, but by moving through it. The no escape rule is especially powerful when applied to fear, because it removes the option of flight. When your brain knows there is no way out, it stops wasting energy on escape fantasies and starts focusing on solutions. This is where real growth happens. A fighter does not become skilled by avoiding sparring. He becomes skilled by staying in the ring, round after round, learning what works and what doesn't. The same applies to any fear. The more you stay in the arena, the more you refuse to let discomfort dictate your actions, the more capable you become. There is a deeper lesson here about trust. Every time you follow through on something you feared, you prove to yourself that you are reliable, that you can count on yourself. This is the foundation of confidence. It is not about knowing you will succeed. It is about knowing you will try, no matter what. That even if you fail, you will not abandon yourself. This is what the monk learns through endless repetitions of the no escape rule. He learns that he can endure, that fear is not fatal, that the other side of discomfort is often strength he didn't know he had. Of course, there are times when quitting is the wise choice. Toxic situations, genuine danger, paths that no longer align with your values. But the no escape rule is not about those. It is about the fears that hold you back from growth. The fears that whisper, "You're not ready, not good enough, not strong enough." Those are the fears you must face with the unwavering commitment of a monk in training. Start small. Commit to a difficult conversation and see it through. Agree to a challenge and refuse to back out. Each time you honor this rule, you strip fear of its power. You teach your brain that discomfort is not an emergency. It is a signal to focus, to adapt, to persist. And over time, something shifts. You no longer see fear as a reason to stop. You see it as a reason to keep going, because the ultimate freedom is not the absence of fear. It is the knowledge that fear cannot make you quit. Fear is a mirror. What it really shows you. Fear is often misunderstood as weakness, as something to be ashamed of, as evidence of inadequacy. But this interpretation misses the deeper truth. Fear is a mirror. It reflects not your limitations, but your values. What you fear most reveals what you care about most. Fear of rejection, underneath that, is a deep valuing of connection, belonging, love. Fear of failure, that points to a commitment to excellence, to doing things well, to mattering. Fear of public speaking, it shows how much you value communication, influence, being heard. The things that scare you are not random. They are signposts to what is meaningful in your life. When you begin to see fear this way, everything changes. Instead of saying, "I'm scared," you learn to say, "I care." This simple reframe cuts fear's power in half. It transforms the emotion from an enemy to an ally. Fear is no longer something that happens to you. It becomes a compass, pointing toward the areas of your life that hold the most significance. A person who feels no fear is not brave. They are indifferent. The warrior who trembles before battle but fights anyway is the one who truly understands courage, because that trembling is proof of how much the fight matters. Think of a time you were deeply afraid. Now ask, what does this fear reveal about what I value? If you were afraid to ask someone out, it wasn't just about rejection. It was about how much connection means to you. If you were afraid to start a business, it wasn't just about failure. It was about how much you care about creating something meaningful. Fear is not the opposite of passion. It is its shadow. Where there is great fear, there is often the potential for great fulfillment. The things worth doing in life are almost always accompanied by fear, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be worth doing. This perspective allows you to work with fear rather than against it. Instead of trying to eliminate it, you learn to listen to it. Fear becomes a teacher, showing you where you need to grow, where you need to prepare, where your heart truly lies. The athlete afraid of losing trains harder. The leader afraid of letting their team down becomes more attentive. The artist afraid of irrelevance digs deeper into their craft. Fear, when understood, becomes fuel. The next time fear arises, pause. Don't judge it, don't resist it. Ask it, what are you here to show me? You might be surprised by the answer. Beneath the surface level panic, there is often a quiet truth waiting to be acknowledged. A value, a desire, a part of yourself that is calling for attention. And when you honor that, fear loses its fangs. It becomes not something to run from, but something to learn from. This is the secret the greatest warriors and creators have always known. Fear is not the enemy. Ignorance of fear's message is the enemy. When you stop seeing fear as a flaw and start seeing it as a reflection of your deepest cares, you unlock a new kind of power. The power to move forward, not in spite of fear, but because of it. Because what terrifies you is exactly what you are meant to do. The 10-second courage window. There is a critical moment between feeling fear and taking action. A window so brief most people miss. Fear peaks right before you act, like a wave about to crash. If you hesitate, The wave engulfs you, but if you move into it, the wave breaks apart. This is the 10-second courage window, the space between I can't and I will. The warriors of old knew this instinctively. The hardest part of any battle is not the fighting itself, it's the moment before the first step forward. The physiology of fear follows a predictable pattern. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your mind screams warning. This is the body's ancient survival mechanism, preparing you to fight or flee. But here's the crucial detail. This surge of adrenaline lasts only a few seconds. If you act within that window, if you move before the fear has time to paralyze you, the fear dissipates. Action kills fear. Hesitation feeds it. Every second you wait, the resistance grows stronger. The solution is simple. Don't wait. This is why the countdown works. When fear hits, you don't argue with it. You don't try to think your way out of it. You count down 10, 9, 8, and on 1, you move. No negotiation, no second guessing. The countdown overrides the mind's tendency to obsess over consequences. It creates momentum. By the time you reach 1, your body is already in motion, and the fear, which thrived on stillness, has no choice but to retreat.
You can see this principle in any arena where courage is required. The public speaker who hesitates before stepping on stage magnifies their fear. The one who walks out decisively before the nerves can take root finds their rhythm faster. The fighter who lunges first controls the match. The entrepreneur who launches before doubt sets in gains unstoppable momentum. The pattern is universal. The longer you dwell in the space between decision and action, the more power you give to fear. This is not about recklessness. It's about understanding the mechanics of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act before fear can dictate your choices. The 10-second window is where that willingness lives. It's the split second between what if and what is. And it's the difference between a life of hesitation and a life of forward motion. Train this like any other skill. Start small. Afraid to make a phone call? Count down and dial on 1. Nervous to speak up in a meeting? Count down and raise your hand. With practice, the countdown becomes automatic, a trigger for action rather than paralysis. Over time, you rewire your instinct from freeze to move. The deeper lesson here is about trust. Fear wants you to believe you need certainty before you act. But the truth is, certainty doesn't exist. The warrior doesn't wait until they're unafraid to step onto the battlefield. They step forward while afraid, and the courage comes in the stepping. The 10-second window is where that trust lives. The trust that you can handle what comes next, even if you don't feel ready. So the next time fear grips you, remember you have 10 seconds. Use them, count down, move. The wave will break, and you'll find yourself on the other side, wondering why you ever hesitated. Because fear's greatest trick is convincing you it's stronger than it is. Action reveals the truth. The empty hand principle. There is a fundamental truth in the way warriors train. The most powerful weapon is not the sword, not the staff, not any external tool. It is the mind. This is why the greatest masters spend years practicing with empty hands. Not because weapons lack value, but because true mastery begins when you stop relying on anything outside yourself. Fear operates the same way. It tricks you into believing you need something more time, more preparation, more certainty before you can act. But these are just excuses in disguise. The empty hand principle teaches you to let go of these crutches and discover the power you already possess. Think of how fear manifests in hesitation. I'll start when I have more money. I'll speak up when I'm more confident. I'll take the leap when the timing is better. These are all variations of the same illusion, that you need something you don't currently have to move forward. But the truth is, you will never feel fully ready. There will always be another reason to wait. The empty hand principle cuts through this by asking one simple question. If I couldn't fail, what would I do? The answer to that question reveals what you truly want, stripped of fear's distortions. And once you see it clearly, the next step is obvious. You take one action, just one, toward that vision, not when conditions are perfect. Now, with empty hands,
This is not about recklessness, it's about recognizing that preparation has diminishing returns. At some point, more research, more planning, more delaying becomes not wisdom but avoid. The warrior knows that no amount of training can eliminate all risk. The archer cannot control the wind, only their aim. The fighter cannot control their opponent's skill, only their own presence. The same applies to your fear. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control whether you move forward or stay paralyzed. The practice is straightforward. Identify where fear is making you cling to excuses. Then one by one, let them go. If you're waiting for confidence, act before it arrives. If you're waiting for permission, realize no one is coming to grant it. If you're waiting for fear to disappear, understand it won't. The power lies in acting anyway. This is the essence of the empty hand principle. Trusting that you are enough as you are with what you have right now. You'll find that most of what you thought you needed was never necessary. The safety nets, the perfect conditions, the guarantees, they were illusions. Real strength comes from standing firm in uncertainty, from acting without the crutch of certainty. Every time you do this, you reinforce a deeper truth. You are capable of handling whatever comes, not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned to move forward even when you don't. This is how masters are made, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by creating it with empty hands and a mind ready for anything. Fear never leaves, you just get stronger. There is a myth about fear that one day, if you work hard enough, if you practice long enough, it will vanish. This is a lie. Fear never leaves, not for the warrior, not for the artist, not for the leader, not for anyone alive. The difference between the novice and the master is not the absence of fear, but the relationship with it. The novice believes fear is a sign to stop. The master knows it is just weather, something that comes and goes, something to move through. Fear doesn't disappear, you just grow larger than it. Think of fear as a boulder on a path. At first it seems immovable. You push, you strain, and it doesn't budge. But over time, as you grow stronger, the boulder feels smaller, not because it changed, but because you did. The fear of public speaking that once made your knees weak, now just makes your palms sweat. The fear of failure that once kept you up at night, now just sharpens your focus. The fear itself hasn't diminished. You've expanded around it. This is why repetition matters. Every time you face fear and move through it, you prove to yourself that fear is not final. It is not a verdict. It is just a sensation, a thought, a temporary state. The more you practice this, the less power fear has to dictate your action. It becomes like an old companion, something you recognize, something you acknowledge, but nothing that controls you. The seasoned fighter still feels adrenaline before a match, but they no longer mistake it for danger. They know it is just the body preparing for action. The experienced speaker still feels nerves before stepping on stage, but they no longer interpret them as a warning. They know it is just energy waiting to be channeled. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens through countless small confrontations. Every time you choose action over avoidance, every time you refuse to let fear make your decisions, you strengthen this muscle, and over time, something changes. Fear no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like part of the process, a sign that you're pushing edges, growing, living fully. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to outgrow it, to become so familiar with its presence that it loses the ability to surprise you, to stop you. This is the mark of true mastery, not fearlessness, but fear aliveness, the ability to feel fear fully and act anyway. So the next time fear arises, greet it like an old friend. Thank it for showing up. It means you're doing something that matters. Then do what you've trained to do. Move forward, not because the fear is gone, but because you've learned to carry it with you. And in that carrying, you've discovered the truth. Fear never leaves, you just get stronger. Fear isn't a wall, it's a door. And every time you walk through, you prove to yourself, I'm stronger than I thought.